Welcome, everybody, to the start of another project. One that is easily going to be the longest I've ever undertaken, but also the first one that I've decided to start recording with video. Unfortunately, that video didn't happen until later in the process, so for now, we only have pictures. Before we get to that, one of the best moments of my life so far was finding my wife. Meeting her opened up a whole new world of sharing experiences, and like me, she loves to learn new things, take on new challenges, and some of the other content coming to this channel was born from her hobbies, providing me new opportunities to grow more skills. Now, this overgrown property here is an added bonus that came meeting my wife. What it really represents is an opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream of my own, which is to build and live in my own house. And that's the start of this series here. Now, here's the property the first week I saw it. I managed to get a mower over the grass and began to uncover the ruins of the former house site and work to tame the entrance to make the property a little bit more accessible. I then began to brainstorm what could be made of the lot. We moved from brainstorming to clearing, picked up some heavily used and abused, but still functional equipment at auction, and added that to a newer subcompact tractor I had inherited from my father's passing. We started to clear some invasive plants and shrubs, clear some areas that had some thick bramble or dead and dying trees, and really pushed out the boundaries of the clearings where the house, and almost importantly, my hobby shop were going to go. Along the way, we created space for Alila's beehives and had some other utilities relocated to better suit our future needs. Over the course of a few years and dealing with a lot of odd red tape, we finally approached phase one of the build, which is going to be the hobby shop. This decision was made primarily because we knew we could erect a post-frame barn at a reasonable cost and a reasonable time frame that could store materials and tools much more securely than a trailer while we build the house. The hobby use of the barn is going to have to wait for a little while, but it'll be worth it. With the area cleared and leveled-ish, it was time to finalize our design. Now, there are numerous channels on YouTube with a lot of how to build post-frame buildings. I've leaned heavily on their teachings to plan out a building that's going to work for us. We wanted something big enough for all my hobbies, but small enough that it didn't overwhelm the size and proportions of the eventual house. Also, not wanting to remove more trees than we really needed to, especially some of the healthier ones, we settled on a 30-foot by 40-foot with some 12-foot ceilings. The size is big enough to be versatile, while also discouraging me from collecting too much junk, because no matter how big I build, I'm going to find a way to fill it, and I want to reduce that temptation. Having picked the size, I set to work on building the structure in CAD. So not only does CAD help me create my material list so I can be more efficient with my purchases, budgets are a reality after all, but it allows me to walk through the assembly steps before I actually have to accomplish them. Since getting to the build site does involve some driving, we want to be cognizant of time usage. So I laid out my external dimensions, I placed my piers after picking some spacing, and I started to build. Showing that I needed my concrete first. I then need to add some anchors, some posts, some exterior wall framing, adding in some trusses, adding in some roof purlins, really getting the structure from my head onto a piece of paper. This allowed me to not only conceptualize what I needed as a cut list, but when I have to put this past my wife, who is also my approval committee, it was more than just promises of a vision in my head. We also got a chance to start playing with some renderings, some colors, and deciding where we really wanted to go in tying together the vision of the barn, the house, and the eventual completion of this property. Now, in the next video, I plan on sharing some of the video of us getting started on the actual build, drilling the holes, placing the concrete, and some of the early framing. Here's where we'll actually be able to switch from photos and start using the GoPro that I finally got to capture some of the build. And together, we're going to learn why time-lapse may not always be the best way to capture content. So join me as I share our progress and try to improve in capturing some of that video.